in some ways, guys, I kind of wonder if the circus is coming into town, but in another way, the circus is leaving town. I'll elaborate on that right now. First, a lot of people are saying with the inauguration this Friday that the circus is coming into town. I mean, Washington, D.C., that is. Yes, Friday is when Trump takes the oath of office for president and Mike Pence takes the oath of office for vice president. But the thing is, it seems as though that Trump's got the lowest approval ratings of how he's handled the transition of almost any president. Hell, only 40% approve of how he's handled the transition. But of course, he supposedly gets high marks in the polls for the way people feels he's going to deal with terrorism and he's going to deal with the economy and other big issues. Of course, he doesn't hold a favorable opinion about women and, of course, African Americans and other minorities. Of course, who knew? But the thing is, the one thing that counts, let's hope he does make the right decisions. Heck, I already think he's done the great thing of pressuring GM and pressuring Ford to keeping jobs here in the United States instead of shipping them to those maquiladoras right on the U.S.-Mexico border that are so ubiquitous. And of course, being the U.S.-Mexico border, you gotta worry about the drug trade. But of course, we'll see what happens. But there also is, 38 Democrats are saying, oh, we're not going to attend the inauguration. And of course, one of the great Broadway performers of her time, one who won the 1982 Tony for her performance in Dreamgirls, Jennifer Holliday, having to pull out of performing at the inauguration because apparently she's been under pressure by, especially from some others, calling her Uncle Tom and other things that they shouldn't. But I just wonder, did Jennifer Holliday tell the people there for Trump, and I'm telling you I'm not going? Heck, in 1982, that was one of the top soul songs of the year, and it even crossed over to the pop charts. And that song won her a Grammy and helped win her a Tony for Dreamgirls. But I digress. As I said, the circus seems to be coming into Washington, D.C. And Trump is taking the oath of office. We'll see how his presidency is. Well, of course, when you got nincompoops like George Stephanopoulos and other reporting for ABC News, you know their reports on Trump are definitely going to be stilted. ABC News and others ought to take a long, hard look at their reporters and see which ones can report objectively about Trump. Because you think Stephanopoulos can't report objectively because he supports the Clintons. But I digress. The circus is coming into town. And on a sad note, the circus is leaving town. After 146 years, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus has decided to fold up the big top. Because apparently ever since one of the big showcases of the circus, the elephants, were removed from the show, ticket sales went eow. And that's a sad thing. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus provided a whole lot of entertainment for a lot of years. Not only the elephants, but also the tiger tamer, the lion tamer, also trapeze artists, high wire acts, clowns, and other acts, including the Globe of Death with those motorcycle riders. And I went to the circus once, albeit it wasn't Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. But I enjoyed going to the circus when I was a young kid. But they kind of say the circus hasn't kept up with the times. And of course, some recent accidents, including the ones with those girls that were hanging by their hair during those tricks and that thing collapsing, that kind of contributed to the end of it. But it's a sad day. But I gotta kind of wonder, What about the elephants? What do they think? Of course, certain animal rights activists, they were responsible for helping get the elephants out of the circus. And of course, you gotta wonder if there were any Siamese elephants, because they had their trunks tied together like this, and when they couldn't go, they could only blow and go, Norkin. And of course, one would sneeze and the other's eyes would get real wide. But I digress. Sad day for generations of people. And it's also a sad day in Brighton, New York. After 20 years, Movies 10 is closing. That was a whole lot of entertainment for me and others in the Rochester area. Heck, after their first runnings, Movies often went to Movies 10. You could watch the movies for $3. But of course, like all movie theaters nowadays, they still charged exorbitant prices for their concessions. But where else could you go and see a whole bunch of Orville Redenbacher popcorn bags stacked against the wall, waiting to be popped? Albeit, you had to pay like $6-7 for a nice thing of popcorn, plus also they charge like $5 for a large soda, although you don't really need that big a soda, if you know what I mean. But sad day. Of course, with the advent of Netflix, plus the availability of those first-run movies after a while going to Netflix and other places on the internet, you see that discount theaters are having trouble filling their seats. Well, whatever. For 20 years, that was a lot of entertainment, especially if you were around Brighton, didn't have the money to go see a first-run movie, but you had the money to go see it after it had been in the theaters for maybe a couple months. It was there, $3. Of course, when it opened up 20 years ago, they only charged $1. Of course, that's inflation, ask Jimmy Carter. And of course, one other sad note, it's the end of Superfly, but I do have harsh words for how he was treated. Superfly Snuka died after a battle with cancer, plus also dementia, but the last year of his life seemed as though the opposing lawyers tried to hang a 30-year-old case over him while he was suffering. Thing is, it was only a few days before he passed that they decided, we're not going to press charges. Nice way to help drive a great wrestler to his grave. Superfly was one of the first wrestlers I really enjoyed when I first started watching professional wrestling. Him taking those leaps off of the top rope and landing on his opponent. Him, Ivan Putski, Nick Bockwinkel, and others I watched before I really got into watching the Hulkster. But, well, I do have to say this. Rest in peace, Superfly, and shame on those lawyers. And I do want to talk quickly about the 4 teams left for the NFL playoffs. Yes, all 4 of them with quarterbacks 30 years or older. Nothing beats experience. But I do have to give kudos to Mike Tomlin for calling the Patriots what they really are. This is the 11th time Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are in the AFC Championship. But you know what Mike Tomlin had to call them? A-holes and F-bombs, which is exactly what this Bills fan thinks of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, if you know what I mean. Let's hope the Steelers can beat the Patriots. And I think it'll be a classic NFC matchup, too, between the Packers and the Falcons. I think experience prevails in that one. I see Aaron Rodgers and the Packers beating the Falcons. But the Falcons have a pretty darn good offense. And I do have to say, what's going on with my orange? Just total inconsistency. It seems as though they're bums one time, heroes, then they're bums again. Yeah, losing to Virginia Tech, beating up on Boston College, but then losing to North Carolina, giving Roy Williams his 800th win. There's just an awful lot of inconsistency and uneven play by the Orange. Well, let's hope for the NIT, shall we? And that's all the time I have to report on this week. We'll see you next week when Trump becomes our president.